Hello and welcome all the heroes and villains of time. My name is Vince South Blessed, aka the Indigo Babies, and this is going to be a new set of videos that I'm making called Creative Technomancy. Now, this has been a concept that's on the one hand been in my head for years. On like another hand, in terms of making like a YouTube series, it's been in my head for like a few months. And I seen a video the other day where somebody was giving their breakdown of Technomancy. I will put the link in the description, and that's what kind of let me know, do you know what, I'm gonna get on it. I've contacted them. Hopefully we'll be in connection and we can do something together. But I was like, it's definitely time for me to get on it. So stay to the end of this video to hear why I think that this is one of the most important things in not only technomancy, technology, human evolution. I think you can all, it's a bit of a metaphor, but I think it kind of breaks down why I decided to make my video about the holistic versus the quantum approach. And I see I've got this thing left up here, so I'm going to just keep it moving here. So the connection between technomancy and transmedia, I think, is very deep and very intertwined. And I've historically considered myself a transmedial producer, so somebody who produces films, music, comics, animations, and games. I made a video previously, which is the one I've got played in the background now. And in that video, I gave a breakdown of what I consider the different types of transmedia. And I broke that down to ancient transmedia, classic transmedia, and pervasive transmedia. So the breaking down ancient, classic, and pervasive transmedia is somewhat similar to me trying to break down this idea of holistic technomancy with quantifiable technomancy. Now, the video that I was mentioning before, that I'm going to put a link in the description, I think was just such an excellent breakdown of quantified technomancy. Really watch that whole video to the very end, because the last thing that he said just let me know, okay, this guy really gets it. And not even just that he really gets it, but that there's a direct resonance in terms of, where I'm coming from, the culture that I was brought up around in, and that I have genetically, and how that plays into all of these different aspects. So with transmedia, one of the things that I break down in the video is this idea that what we call transmedia now is, even though it's meant to represent a multitude of things, so transmedia is the space in between and the connection between all of these different types of art forms. If you go to ancient times back in the day, they didn't feel the need to isolate everything into its different components. So for instance, where I'm from in Bristol right now, we've just had our carnival back after the last 4 years. The example that I give in the video is, there was a time when inside of a carnival environment, you wouldn't necessarily separate the carnival from the smells of the food, from the music being played, from the dancing, from the costumes. It was all one thing. So it's not to say that there isn't a use in quantifying, but what we have is, we have something called media, and then that would be like music, and then we have this idea of transmedia, which is all of these different medias together, like films and games and that kind of stuff. But I actually feel like coming at it from the other angle, even though it's just about semantics, puts you in a better frame of reference, which might be a better frame of mind, if technomancy and transmedia is something that you actually want to get involved in, if it's something that you actually want to be able to execute, something that you want to be able to produce, something you want to be able to learn, something that you want to be able to pass on. So I think the understanding that everything comes from the holistic, like to actually imagine these things as separate, you have to understand there's a level of fiction that you have to delve into. Now, it might be helpful, and you know, for all of the inventions that we've created, they come down to people obsessing over the specifics. So it definitely is very, very useful. But then when you're actually trying to apply it yourself, whether that's about generating ideas, whether that's about completion, whether that's about integration, understanding that it comes from a holistic place in the first place is something that I think is essential. So let me get back to this one here. And so I always give this example. Now let's just take out the historical biases and fictional BS that goes into the phrase caveman, right? But let's just go back to quote unquote caveman times as they would like to do it. Flintstones thing, yeah? Or even pre-Flintstones, before Flintstones started wilding out and they didn't have all of their birds and dinosaurs to help them and stuff. So let's go back to pre being able to make fire. Let's go back to pre having the will. So what would this be in those times? And I think some people already know what I'm getting at here. Obviously, this could be a lot of things, but this metaphorically represents most of what we call creation as it relates to it. So, okay, I'm going to take another pause there and start breaking down something else. Because, again, when we're talking about quantifiable technomancy, especially now we've got artificial intelligence to this place. You know, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know I'm fully on board with all of that. But again, from a spiritually, just from a spiritual direction, you could decide whatever that might be for you. But because of this phrase, artificial intelligence, more and more ingrained in society right now is this idea that humans are capable of doing something which is outside of nature. So that's the first thing that this symbolizes. I think everybody can kind of see by how, you know, quote unquote, is that a natural cut? Is that a natural cut there? So is that something that is naturally formed? Maybe this end's a little bit more natural. This one isn't. But we understand that on the one hand, this would be a tool that somebody would use for something. And on the other hand, we are super aware that this is still part of nature, or that it started as part of nature. It was manipulated by another bit of nature. And as a result, is still nature in and of itself. So that's one of the first things that I want to I'm using this video to establish a set of phrases that I can say when I'm making other videos. Because again, like I said, this other video that I saw, which was like an introduction to technomancy, gave such a good breakdown of what I consider quantifiable technomancy. But a lot of what I will be talking about as it relates to technomancy will actually be holistic in its sense. And so what that means is it will incorporate a lot of things that some people might say is just biology. Some people might just say is psychology. Some people might say is marketing. You know, some people might say it's social dynamics. Some people might just say it's all color psychology. But I consider it all. So the first thing that this represents as a piece of technology is that as humans, though it's useful to have this idea of man-made versus non-man-made, in reality, something that is man-made is still natural. We don't have the capabilities of, you know, doing some kind of teleportation of material from somewhere outside of nature to construct something in this dimension. Everything that we're using is recycled. Now to get onto the main point with this. Let's look at this as if it's three different tools. So the first one is as a knife. So obviously somebody might say, well, technically a knife is X, Y, or Z. Start going into dimensions, materials. But let's just say that this represents, again, back in these fictional caveman times, let's just say that this was the first ever knife created. So, you know, when animal attacks, it gets stabbed by this. Because of whatever human had access to this, whether it's something that they created themselves or something that was produced ad hominem or, you know, multiple people coming together, a few different ideas. This, let's say that this is the first knife. So now you've got this knife that is stabbed this animal and it's got blood on it. So now these fictional cavemen go back to their fictional cave with their fictional family and they paint on that wall with the blood of an animal the shape of that animal. So now this then becomes the first pen. And so again, you know, whether it was done by accident, some people start obsessing over it, finding out different things, different liquids that can produce different colors. Some try and evolve their skill of actually doing the drawings, obsessing over geometry and all those kind of things. But let's just say that the first pen looked like this as well. So now you can stab things, you can now draw things. And so because of that, this individual group of individuals, because they're so useful to their group, they end up rising in the ranks and sexual selection. And so this becomes something that is permanently by their side. And so now it becomes a wand. And why does it become a wand? Because they're able to point people's perceptions in different directions. So, okay, now we're going to go back and we're going to find the cave of those animals in there and we're going to ambush them. We've got this to deal with them when we get there. We've drawn it so that you know what you're looking. And now as we're approaching, this becomes an extension of my psychology, allowing me to communicate different things just by waving it around in certain things. Just like the digits on our hand and how we consider this thumb to separate us technologically from a biological technological point of view. This thing separates us. This then becomes the extension. So now this exact same thing is the sword, it's the pen, and it's the wand. And so the sword, the pen, and the wand, for me, is the metaphor for the holistic technomancer. Because it was just a stick, but it was also all of those things at the exact same time. And so from there, you know, you can go down the timelines in your head, and we can imagine how maybe the wheel comes and then the fire comes, and you know, as things get more and more specific, they do just that, they get more and more specific. But in its origin, the actual stick itself could have been created outside of human intention, but it's what we thought it was that actually made it what it was. And so effectively, that is the first lesson for me that I want to give on this channel, which is about the fact that everything in the first place is just a creation. It's just creation. Then after creation, you have perception, and then perception as it relates to now, we dictate whether something is science, whether it's art, or whether it's magic. Science, art, magic. Knife, pen, wand. It all comes down to those things. The scientist, the artist, the magician. In reality, when you are a scientist or a artist or a magician, you know you're doing all three of those things to accomplish what somebody might specifically consider science or art or magic. So if you've ever spoken to a scientist and they've ever had to hope something works, well, if they're hoping, we've left the realm of science now, because it's just going to be is or isn't, you know. If you've ever spoken to a scientist and there is a preferable scientist to try and do something, now it's swimming into the realms of artistry. So this is the point, is that from a technomancer's point of view, it's all just creation. We just create. And, you know, there's enough holy texts about creation that there's only so long I spend wondering why we like to create things. You know, it's not only the reason why we're here, but it clearly seems like it's something that was embedded deeper than survival. Because part of thriving is not only about creating, but also seems to be about enjoying other people's creations, you know? Which again is part of why I want to make these videos, because I enjoy watching other people's videos on this subject so much that, you know, I hope I can be part of that, the fluctuation, the flow, and the resonance. So yeah, that is what I want to end with on this specific thing here. The science, the art, and the magic of technomancy in its holistic sense literally encompasses all of creations. So this is the reason why, you know, even biology and psychology to me comes down to technomancy, because there's a very physical and observable technological nature to what we call microbiology, you know, with all of its sacred mathematics, all of its connections and repeating patterns and unique events. So moving forward, I'll be having different videos, some that deal with the holistic aspect of technomancy, some that deal with the more quantifiable aspects of technomancy. But there's just something, you know, if you've come this far in the video, I got something for you. As I was looking through my notepads to decide which notebook I'm going to use to make this series, found a notepad and it had just one entry in there. And I just thought, okay, this will be for now. So this is what it says for all the technomancers out there. Luck is an okay, let's try that again. Luck is an I don't know why this is not coming out now. Inevitable. Luck is an inevitable algorithm created by the system of perception. Coincidence is a form of communication between micro and macro forms of perception. Synchronicity is a language that it is possible to speak fluently. The only thing worse than being negative is being deluded. The only thing better than being positive is being authentic. The soul does not need food, unlike the mind, body, and spirit. You are what you eat. Live today like you had a winning lottery ticket in your back pocket and you plan on cashing it in next week. And if you already don't care about money, you are currently living in next week. Numbers are the letters of the universe, symbols are the words, events are the phrases, and coincidence is the language. So please like and subscribe if you want more. Any questions are welcome though. I've got a few things that I want to get off my chest, so we will continue to move forward with this flow. I appreciate you being here with me now, and I hope you are having a blessed day.